Yeah. So accounting can often be thought as a very boring subject, but if you're looking to become a storage provider, you will have to be able to generate reports for your investors, for your own corporate accounting, whether you're based in Hong Kong, Singapore, but ultimately, even for your own business decision making, to be able to accurately understand, how are the rewards that you're generating, how should you value them over time, how should you defer the revenue, how should you report on these things. This is a very complex subject, and with Filecoin, it's even more complex than other blockchains. And I'm here to help and give you sort of an introduction to accounting on Filecoin. Cool. So let's start. So who am I? I'm Hemant. I've been working with the Filecoin ecosystem for about 2 years, primarily with Protocol Labs, and also one of the top miners in the US called WebCloud. Also going to be speaking at ESPA next week and showed up a partnership with Picnic there as well. So very much in the ecosystem, and so happy to be here with DSPA and the Greater Heat team to help miners and storage providers in the Asia community do their accounting. So we're very familiar with the topic, we're very experienced with the topic, and everything that you're going to be seeing here today is the first time people have done this. And we have been the trailblazers in producing these best standards for accounting for Filecoin storage provision. Cool. We've been around for 5 years. We've been doing accounting for all the other crypto companies as well. So yeah, very, very experienced in this space. Cool. So I think the most important thing, especially from listening to, what Stefan said about how for the ecosystem to move forward and achieve its mission of storing the world's most important data, we need to show integrity to enterprises, because ultimately, if you go to an enterprise and say, hey, we want to make a storage deal, they need to have confidence in the security, auditability, integrity of not only your infrastructure, but also your financial reporting. And these are the most important pillars to be able to build a successful storage provision business on. And yeah, I think accounting should definitely not be neglected, even though it's very tempting to do so. And also we're seeing an industry shift, right? From like innovators and the protocol being launched for the first time to now, okay, great, we're building enterprises on top of the protocol. And what these enterprises need to succeed is, sure, we need to move fast and break things, but we also need to now optimize for reputation, reliability, and security. And the way we do that, obviously, is with great infrastructure, but also great financial reporting. So what is good enough accounting is just doing at the end of the month, you see the rewards balance, you see the locked rewards and say, oh yeah, this is the value of Filecoin, and this is the month-end balance, and this is what the rewards are, and that's, the profit and loss can be generated from that. But this is not accurate. If you ever have a financial audit or you ever want to raise money as an investment, this kind of accounting is not going to get you very far. We have to move towards a systematic form of accounting that is tracking every single movement, every single burn fee, every single POST fee, every single reward, every single vesting block. We have to capture all of this complexity in the Filecoin network and all of these transactions that happen as a Filecoin storage provider, and then do the appropriate accounting, value it at that time for every single movement, and then generate the income statement, the balance sheet. So why do you need to care about financial accounting? To meet your corporate legal and tax obligation. Obviously, if you're incorporated in Hong Kong or Singapore or anywhere in the world, you will have to have some standard. And the big challenge is, how do we turn this on-chain data into something that looks like a financial statement, right? And doing this on a level that's not just a monthly statement, right? To attract investors and grow your business, and to have accurate financial records for you to yourself know that in dollar terms or in reporting currency terms, in fiat terms, How are you able to represent your revenues, expenses, this kind of stuff? Cool. So what are we going to be thinking about, especially with Filecoin, right? The complexity comes with the mining rewards and how your mining rewards, when you receive them, they're locked. So 25% is available at the time and the rest is locked. But the mining reward actually all sits in your miner actor. So in your wallet balance, you will see the full reward. So for example, if you got 20 fill in a mining reward, on the first day, only 5 fill is available. The rest of the 15 is locked. And that is being unlocked block by block over 180 days. But your accounting will show that, wait, I have 20 fill. So how do you treat the revenue that is not available but locked? This is one of the unique points with Filecoin that we'll need to treat. The second is the on-chain expenses. So there's lots of expenses when related to Filecoin. You have the miner fees, the burn fees, the overestimation fees. If you're somehow not able to meet your setup has an outage on a sector or something, you'll have slashing. So how do you do the accounting for all of these things? So what is an expense? What is a reduction of revenue? This kind of thing. So just some more detail here. So the fees, the mining fees, the burn fees, you have to separate this related to every single message. So what's a proof of space-time fees related to that? What's the fees related to some normal transactions? And that goes into like a COGS account, like a cost of goods and services account. Whereas if you've got slashing, the way slashing works is that it actually takes out the deferred revenue, as in the revenue of the locked rewards. And then once you've finished the locked rewards, it takes it out of your pledge, right? So how do you do the accounting for that in case you get slashed? Also, obviously, if you're running your system well, you won't get slashed, but you have to be prepared for the correct process of how to treat slashing. This is your income and expenses. So at the end of your month, at the end of your quarter, at the end of the year, you're able to do your accounting for your income statement, right? Then you have your balance sheet side. Now, how do you show your different assets on your balance sheet, right? I imagine you'll have some sort of exchange or some sort of loan or some sort of source where you're getting the pledge fill. So how do you then show that as the liability on your account, right? In your accounting, because it's a loan, and then maybe you're making interest repayments. But then also you've got fill tied up in the pledge. You've got fill in your treasury holdings, but also you've got locked fill. Now here, there's actually, especially in the US, there's a big debate. And the big debate or not is about, well, obviously, whether or not Filecoin is a security. They're still arguing about this, and we will see how this plays out. But there's also a treatment of how do we treat these locked assets on your balance sheet? Is a locked reward something that you own, or is it something that you don't own? This is actually quite a big philosophical argument that has been being fought, and we have come to a best practice here. So we have, having worked with PwC, Deloitte, Mazars, and KPMG, we're working with all the big four accounting and audit firms to understand, how are you going to treat these kinds of instances? And to give you a sense of what the best practice is now, it is to show all of your fill, whether it's restricted, whether it's the locked rewards or unlocked, all of them sit on your balance sheet, but you have to separate the account in the same way that you would have if you are like a subscription service and you took payment upfront for a year, and you still have to obviously fulfill your obligations for that subscription service, but all of those assets are in your possession, even if they're locked. As long as you fulfill your duty as a storage provider, you will get those rewards, right? As long as you don't go down on running sectors. So this needs to be treated as if you own the fill, and that has to sit on your balance sheet. So this is exactly how you have to show it, which is to say that in your assets, you have to show your restricted fill and fill separated, but it both have to sit on your balance sheet. And then your liabilities, if you're borrowing fill, whether or not it's from a FVM DeFi protocol or it's a centralized pledge that you're borrowing from some other actor. You can find fill there as well. Okay, so this is the high level of the two statements that you're going to need to produce and the unique things about Filecoin. But as a new storage provider, you might be like, gosh, like crypto accounting in general, there's a lot to do. How do I approach this, right? So the one thing that is definitely not okay is just a monthly wallet balance check to say at the end of the month, what was my balance for every single address and how has it changed since last month? And you do one entry for the rewards. This is not okay. You have to have all the expenses, the cost of the goods produced or the cost of running your storage provision operation. And then you have to have all the rewards. And then you have to produce an accurate income statement. Otherwise, you will not pass audits. And this is not just, I understand that people are in different jurisdictions and there are different rules, of course. But also in Hong Kong, for example, it's HKFRS, so which is the IFRS standard equivalent for Hong Kong, which does mean that you need to report this on a granular level. And we think for an ecosystem to succeed, the way forward is to do this accounting, because that way we'll be able to educate the industry and also set the best standards that are correct and are appropriate for our industry. So the monthly balance checks is the kind of stuff which will get our ecosystem in trouble, and we don't want that. So we want to have an appropriate accounting system in place. Cool. So all the movements need to be tracked on a transaction level, and then we need to reconcile that to the monthly balances so that you know that you're not missing transactions, right? Now, this is what it looks like. So what we're going to do is you're going to put in all your wallet addresses and get all the transaction history for every single wallet address. I'll show you exactly how that looks like. Then we have to do the valuation, cost basis, mapping to your chart of accounts, and then generate the reports that are needed. Cool. So I'm going to give you a bit of a demonstration into what this would look like. So you would start by, you need to get your Filecoin wallets in, right? So depending on how you set up your infrastructure, you'll have your Filecoin connector here. You put in your address, and then you can see, so for example, I've got an example here of some miners, a worker wallet, a proof of space-time wallet, pre-commit wallet, commit wallet, and owner wallet. This is often how you segregate it. And then you can see the number of transactions. And you can see that you will quickly ramp up these transactions. So you will have hundreds of thousands of transactions. And you need to do the accounting on the lot level. And what you would see here, for example, and these are the transactions. So the date and time, to and from, incoming, outgoing. And to give you an example of what this should look like, so this is a proof of space-time transaction. There's 3 movements in this transaction. You've got the miner fee, you've got the burn fee, and you've got the overestimation burn. And for every single one, if you click on it, you can see the exact fiat rate in Hong Kong dollar or whatever it is that you choose, and you have to value it. And this will be an expense ultimately, all right? So this is the kind of level of accounting you'll need to do to be able to show what are the true expenses of running a storage provision business. And your investors will love this because they will be able to see, okay, great, in dollar terms or in fiat terms, what is the cost of running this operation? And then what is the rewards that are coming? And then also with the rewards, right? So for example, if I go for filter and I can just see incoming rewards, right? So this is going to take a few seconds, but let me give you a sense here. Now your rewards. So for example, you received 1,600 Filecoin in rewards. Of that, at any moment in time, a certain amount will be locked and a certain amount will be available. But the value of this, you can't just do on today's value. You have to do it on the cost, because at the moment it was received, a certain amount was available, which is the 25%, and the rest was locked. So how do we do the accounting for this? We have to track it on a lot level. So if I look at this, you can see every single transaction and every single incoming volume. And then we do the split of what has been vested for every single day. And then you can see in the summary at any date, whatever date you choose, say the 21st of January, you will be able to see what is locked, what is available, and what are the total rewards. And this is very important because this is ultimately what you're going to show on your balance sheet for the available rewards versus the locked rewards. Great. So if I go back here as well, you can see each time you win a reward on chain, you just see the full amount. You see, for example, 19.09 fill. So what you're seeing on chain is not the reality of your accounting because you don't have access to 19 fill. You only have access to 25% of this. And the rest is vesting. So you have to run these reports on top to be able to accurately report what your revenue is. Otherwise, your revenue will be overestimated a lot. And you don't want to overestimate your revenue, right? Great. So that's your accounting for the different kinds of rewards. Moving on, it's the valuation, right? Now, how do you do the valuation for these rewards? When people don't have some sort of system or process in place, they often just do weighted average. So they'll just average everything out and see what was the value of fill and then apply that as the valuation for the price. This is not good practice. The best practice is truly FIFO and doing this on a wallet level. So you're able to track all the rewards that are coming in and all the disposals, especially for the miner actor, because a lot of the transactions are happening in the miner. So you want to be able to track the cost basis for the fill going in and out of the miner. And this is also going to be crucial for your IFRS reporting. Again, so the biggest things are going to be vesting rewards. Also, sometimes there are multi-entities. So if you have multiple entities, like you have a Singapore entity, a Hong Kong entity, maybe you expand to a US entity, you'll have to have different, or even if you've got a mainland entity or if you've got an operation somewhere else in Asia, you'll have to have separate accounting for each. And then when you're making loans to each other for maybe the pledge or something, so you can track and record this stuff, right? So what was the fair valuation at which you were doing these things? Yeah, so that's that. And this was the mining rewards that I spoke about. Obviously, we're working with all the different accounting partners, audit partners out there, and we can support anyone who needs to do accounting and report preparation for Filecoin. If you have any questions, please reach out to us. We're also producing a lot of free documentation on how to use, how to do crypto accounting for the Filecoin ecosystem. So if you go on our website, it's cryptio.co. And you'll be able to see lots of good documentation and guides on how to do accounting for Filecoin. Obviously, I'm happy to explain this as well, and we're here to support. So yeah, if there's one takeaway from my talk, it's got to be that you got to think about your accounting and definitely do it on a transaction level. And with the rewards, you got to take care of the vesting rewards. And with the expenses, you got to make sure that the expenses are mapped to a COGS account, but also then the slashing is different. So how do you treat the slashing and making sure that that's accurate? And then representing that on your income statement for the deferred revenue, and then on your balance sheet for the restricted assets. So yeah, that's the end of my talk. Thank you again so much for the DSPA community for inviting me. And I feel like if we're able to get confidence in our financial reporting, it opens up a lot of doors for investment, for audit, to work with the larger companies, to work with large enterprises. They want to see this level of accounting as well. So to grow our businesses and to grow as an industry, this is an important element. And I hope it was useful for you to hear this talk today.